Hello, I'm Zanslans, and today I unveiled a complete redesign of my website. It took around 2 years to make from start to finish and has over 30 completely redesigned pages. So to say goodbye to the old design, I'll compare the old with the new, showing the process I took and the interesting things I learned. If you ever want to visit the old site or any of the previous versions, you can time travel, figuratively, on archive.org. So I'm going to talk about 15 pages. A couple of them are elaborate brand new pages, and at the end I'm going to show an entire secret closed off account system. And dispersed throughout the video, I'll share 13 of the most important things I learned while making the site. So let's jump right in, starting with the homepage and talking about the layout in general. This is the new homepage. It's the first thing someone sees when visiting my website usually. On the old design, immediately what stands out to me is just how noisy the color choices and icons used to be. There's a lot of clashing elements, like between the 2 rows of gradient buttons with icons on the header, the colorful square buttons here, and then these bordered content sections. So immediately I learned I needed to have a consistent design language. Oh look, it's Learndog! Don't mind him, he just likes to learn. Don't you, boy? Alright, so to me, a design language informs the visitor what everything is and how to interact with it, but without actually saying anything. A design language is purely visual. And keeping it consistent is very important because, like in real life, if you just start speaking un idioma diferente de repente, it's muy confuso. So to fix these clashing elements and to start forming a design language, I did a few things. First, on the new design, all of the site links are squished into a clear header and footer, and I now use rounded flat rectangles to contain my content. I chose to remove titles from these content rectangles until you hover over them. This reduces clutter and encourages people to be more curious, and it kind of motivates me to make better thumbnails. Another aspect of the design language is that all of the icons on the site slide down when you hover over them. It's very simple, but somehow unique and effective. Each of the sections now always includes a header and a More button. The old design lacked a lot of these. Another important thing I learned about making this redesign was to use existing resources to my advantage. Here I use the YouTube API to get the thumbnails and to link my latest YouTube videos. I have the Twitter widget down here, and I use masonry to make it span multiple columns, which looks nice. And I even use an external service over here. I use avatars.io to load the profile pictures. So yes, using external services saved me time and improved the site experience. I also got rid of the view counter. It aged my site by about 15 years, especially with the Z on the word visits. So I think it had to go. Phil, the green box on the other hand, she had to stay. I mean, there's just no question about that. She's very important. So much of the content that used to be in the header was moved to the footer, and plenty of new links were added as well. I did this because I realized I needed to respect the functionality of headers and footers. Keeping only the most important links at the top helped reduce choice paralysis and content blindness, but still having them at the bottom of the page made them easy enough to find for anyone looking. Now, one really cool thing about the redesign is when you reduce the size of the browser, it turns into a mobile-friendly layout. So to reach more people with my site, I found it important to start implementing mobile friendliness from the very beginning. When a site is properly designed, mobile users are more likely to stay longer. Designing a site for mobile can make a site better as a whole because sections of the page have to be carefully categorized so they make sense at different sizes. And of course, mobile advertisements will end up looking less ugly because it's not trying to show desktop ads on a mobile screen. For me, different pages react to the mobile size in different ways. On the homepage, the content sections restructure, the Twitter feed becomes one column, fewer social media links are shown, and titles and descriptions are shown by default, since there's no mouse hover on phones. One more obvious change is that the main background is no longer just white. I realized things could drastically improve when I use a color and depth hierarchy. In my case, this means things further back, or less important, are darker, and things closer to the text layer are brighter. It becomes easier on the eyes when the colors have this extra meaning. The color hierarchy was easy to do with just one color, blue, but keeping the palette simple was good because the actual important stuff like games and thumbnails stand out better. So yeah, that's the new homepage and an overview. Let's check out the rest of the site, starting with the games page. And here it is, the new games page. It's now a thumbnail-based design, which matches the homepage and saves some space. The descriptions only show up on mouse hover, even on mobile, because the text would have just been too small anyway, and it would have covered up most of the thumbnail. Also, there's a new sweeping fade-in animation when changing pages. Alright, let's check out one of the games and see how the gameplay page has improved. On the new gameplay page, I moved all of the information and buttons to below the game itself. I realized that, at least in this case, to put the most important content on the top. I mean, the main thing someone does on the gameplay page is play the game, so the game itself should be well above the fold. Because of this, I could group all of the information about the game in a little capsule, so I was able to add a thumbnail, description, and a list of tags. The enlarge game feature now doubles the size of the game up to the width of the website. In the old design, it was only 50% bigger, and it would ignore the size of the page. And alongside it is finally a full screen button. There's also a new button here that switches between the Flash version and the HTML5 version. So when I finish the HTML5 ports of my games, I can actually share them. By default, browsers require you to enable Flash Player before playing a Flash game. The new site has a better message when it detects you need Flash and suggests switching to the HTML5 version if there is one. One rather invisible addition to the game page was better metadata. So when pasting a link to one of my games on sites like Twitter or Discord, it now has the game's thumbnail and description rather than a generic message. I learned to make good use of metadata when building my site. It's better for SEO and looks much nicer when people share my work online. I improved metadata on several key parts of my website, including my games, blog posts, user pages, and the new Doodle pages. The Mindblocks game page used to have a couple of Chatango chats, but they were disabled a while ago because people were abusing it. Now there's a Disweb chat, which is the Mindblocks Discord server. Hopefully they'll soon add the ability to log into the chat, but for now it's just read-only. Otherwise, the rest of this page is mostly just like the other new game pages, just with a few extra links down here. Alright, this is the new news page. It's mostly the same layout as before, but the Twitter section is no longer half broken, and its collapse feature slides up and down, instead of quickly snapping in and out. The page now displays how many comments are on the posts, for convenience. I must say though, GhostID did that first. My old site inspired his old design, and now that design inspired mine again. Whoa, look, it's GhostID! Go tell him to make games again, cause they were awesome! Oh no, he's getting away! Anyway, another addition is that the news page is now paginated. It used to only show the 5 most recent posts. Alright, let's check out this one. Here's one of the individual posts. Because the background color changed and the page can now change sizes, I had to go through the old posts and update fonts and stuff. This posts around this time section is now in the same style as the homepage, which makes it more consistent with the site design. And the comment section. Oh, the comment section with nested posts, account integration, moderation, and parsing. The overhaul was quite a task. Here I found it very valuable to do planning and mockups for this kind of feature. I usually just go straight to developing things, but this time I really needed a mockup first, so I went into GIMP and drew up these concept images. As you can see, the design ended up surprisingly close to the concepts, so planning ahead was very helpful here. Sometimes jumping in and trying things out works just as well, but in this case, I think it saved me a lot of fiddling around. One great new improvement to the comment system is it now uses the power of AJAX to allow commenting, replying, editing, deleting comments, and switching pages, all without refreshing the page. Another interesting little detail is in these default profile pictures. The position of the eyes acts as an indication of who's commenting, so if someone posts from the same computer or account, the eyes will be in the same spot. Making this page actually taught me another tip: make meaningful font choices. In the past, my entire website used Verdana. I mean, it was fine, Verdana's a common, readable, sans serif font. But when I did my redesign, I decided to pick fonts that give my site more personality and character. I limited my choices to just Google fonts, since they're safe choices for web. Also, they're great fonts. I used Hammersmith 1 for the base font, used on headers and buttons. The font has a nice balance between serious and playful, with expressive angles and curves. For the text in posts and comments, I use Nauto Sans, since it's very clean and readable, but similar to the roundness and complexity of Hammersmith 1. And lastly, because Hammersmith 1 has poor number symbols, I use Rambla for stuff like page numbers and statistics. Ah, the 404 page. The broken links. The Zans links. You know how long I've been wanting to make a pun like this? Also, how long I should have gotten rid of the old 404 page marquees? Man, that page was ancient. I like the new page. I'd like to do more illustrations like this at some point. This page is the Doodles page, and I am very happy with it. It's a place for me to share with you, finally, all of the weird experiments I make and things I sketch out. The stuff is so different from the other things on my website that I just was never able to find a proper home for it. Until now. This is one of the rare times I actually sketched out the design on paper before starting. I wrote down in general what I'd like the page to offer and then based my design off of those requirements. It's a waterfall style page with 3 columns on desktop or just one scrolling list on mobile. It displays a bunch of individual posts called Doodles. Each doodle can contain an image or an entire gallery of images that you can flip through, each sometimes with a description too. Each doodle also contains a date, a title, a description, links, and tags. Clicking on a tag will show only the doodles containing that tag, making it easier to explore similar projects. The All tag button will, reset the search. This page was very challenging to make. I never made an infinitely scrolling waterfall before, and it posed questions like, how do you tell if the user scrolled to the bottom, and how do you tell if an image is loaded? The only thing I didn't solve was how to size the gallery images in Internet Explorer, which wouldn't really be a problem if you guys were clicking on the date of a doodle will open it on its own page. The cool thing about this individual doodle page is it includes a section showing similar doodles. They share the most similar tags with the main post. So, all of that is the public side of the website. But there have been tales told by many that since around 6 years ago there's been a secret account system in the website. So for the first time ever, I'm going to show you what that looks like. That said, I'm still going to keep the accounts closed to the public for a little bit longer, but I'm thinking about maybe letting my Patreon members join in once that's up and running, so that could be cool. Alright, so here's the registration page. It looks like the join button graphic somehow disappeared over time on the old design, but now the design is much more structured and includes a reCAPTCHA, so I can worry less about spammers joining. And now the form uses AJAX, which gives detailed errors if you fill out the form incorrectly. When recreating the account system, I also recoded the backend server-side stuff, and this time I finally made use of PHP classes and made APIs for each major feature. Doing it this way showed me it's best to heavily structure and organize the backend, even when it might seem overkill. It helped a lot for me, and it forced the site to be more dynamic. The login page received a similar makeover. Once logged in, you will see a bar at the top with different pages you could go to. In the old design, it was above the header, and in the new design, I didn't want the header to ever move, so I placed the user bar below. The notifications bell opens a drop-down where you can read comment replies or mentions and see new contacts. For moderators and admins, there's a link to moderate new comments, and then there are links to messages, the site chat, account settings, and a logout button. So this is the account settings page. It allows you to edit your profile and manage your account. On the old design, the settings page looks similar to the profile page, which I'll show next. In the new design, I made it more like the registration page. The profile picture interface is improved too. You can drag images to it, and there's an option to remove the old picture, which will fall back to either Gravatar or the default one. And at the bottom, there's now a way to log out of all other computers, which is a useful security feature. In general, I learned it's smart to triple check site security. Isn't that right, Learndog? Yeah! Oh, you know it. Saying to double or triple check security just seems so obvious, but it's just too easy to make a system once and assume it's going to be fine. But no, even before my redesign, some of the oldest features of the site still had small security flaws. I remember many years ago, you could technically break my server from any game page because of a flaw with the hit counter, of all things. So yeah, always triple check security. Accounts are publicly visible from the profile page. I did like the 2-column layout of the old design, but to keep it simple for mobile, I decided to remake it as all 1 column. The profile page features the user's profile image, links to the user's homepage, Twitter and YouTube, and a custom bio. It shows when the person was last online too. Here's a section for recent comments, and it now shows the origin of the comment too, so it's not so out of context anymore. You can add people as a contact too. It was fun to make the button for that. There's a comment section on the profiles down here, but if you don't want to send a public comment, you can instead direct message them. The messages page took me about a month to redesign since it was such a huge system. The new design uses AJAX, is separated into pages, and is sortable. Messages are loaded into a pop-up now, and I'm really happy with that message load animation. There's a convenient reply interface to the pop-up too. Okay, you would think it would be obvious for me to make it display relevant errors, but in the old design, the error literally said that I was too lazy to display what went wrong. Also, when the error happened, it used to refresh the page, potentially erasing what you wrote. Nice. Anyway, I spent a lot of time with the really little details of pages like this, making sure things were lined up perfectly and worked on various screen sizes. Some may disagree, but I do think it's important to care about the fine details, even if it takes extra time. Not only does it affect the viewer's overall opinion on the quality of the site, but it makes for cleaner code and teaches a lot about web development and math. The account system also features a website chat. The new design is heavily inspired by Discord, so it should be pretty familiar. The old version took like 10 seconds to load since it retrieved every message individually. In the new version, it packages the messages all at once, making it load instantly. The sound effects were redone. They used to be very harsh and annoying. They are better in comparison now. The list of users in the chat was moved to the top and shown as profile pictures. Clicking on them shows a scrollable list of users. And there's now a settings menu that allows you to mute or pop out the chat. The popped out version just shows how much it improved since the last version. Like, it resizes to the window finally. The chat is actually embeddable and allows for any number of rooms. I have room creation disabled though, but if the account system becomes a thing, maybe like each game could potentially have a room or something like that. There's a lot of possibilities. I suppose the last thing I learned was to frequently test in my target browsers. Sometimes I had to redo small features because they looked weird in some browsers, like on mobile, or had slight differences in Firefox, or just an unfortunate lack of everything in Internet Explorer. Just as one example, CSS variables aren't supported on Internet Explorer 11, so I used a great polyfill called CSS vars ponyfill. So instead of looking like this on Internet Explorer 11, the site now looks like this. Well, that's it. That's the new Zanslans redesign. Thank you so much for making it this far, and I hope you enjoyed the video and found it interesting. Let me know in the comments what you thought of everything. And also, there's a lot of cool things coming up soon, like a Mindblocks update, a Patreon account, and certainly much more. So I hope you're here to stick around. Have an awesome day. See ya!